Self-remembering, in which a man is aware of himself and all he sees around him, and at the same time aware of all the thoughts and feelings passing through him. This state of consciousness is man's right. After a time, at a certain age, people no longer experience new impressions. This is not because impressions are not new, for they are always new every moment, but because they always ring up, as it were, the same associations and produce the same reactions. Life is impressions coming in. You cannot change life, but you can change the way impressions fall on you. A man should know what his aim is, great or small, at any one moment. It gives shape and meaning to his inner life. The fear of sin, of hell, can evoke a terrible internal struggle between yes and no. But if a man crystallizes out on this foundation, he crystallizes in a wrong way. Fear is not a right basis for crystallization. Everything is defined by what it eats. What eats it? This work teaches that we live in a world of real qualitative differences, and this is its meaning. Transformation is possible in the very nature of things. We see a seed transforming itself into a tree, but scarcely think of the miracle. Is it not obvious that the mere quantity of efforts is useless in comparison with the quality of the efforts? Mere lip service, mere imitation of work, mere pretending to work or trying to attract merit, all such efforts, however great in quantity, lead to nothing, because such efforts are insincere. They are of bad quality, however great their quantity may be. You cannot separate yourself from what you have a secret affection for. What you are practicing inner silence about is already in the mind, and you must be aware of it, but you must not touch it with your inner speech, your inner tongue. Actually, wrong outer talking is mostly due to wrong inner talking. Wrong inner talking, particularly venomous and evil inner talking and so on, makes a mess within, like excrement. It is how you behave internally and invisibly to one another that really counts. This is very difficult to understand. You may think you know this already, but to understand, even to begin to understand it, takes many years of work. Remember, the sign of intelligence is the power of adaptation, and that all strength in the work means flexibility, not rigidity. Ideas have force. Ideas are the most powerful of all things. You can evolve now, but everyone cannot evolve. There is no collective evolution, but there is individual evolution. At this moment, I want you to understand one thing. It is impossible to become free from one influence without becoming subject to another. The whole thing, all work on oneself, consists in choosing the influence to which you wish to subject yourself, and actually falling under this influence. And for this it is necessary to know beforehand which influence is the more profitable. Only individuals do anything. Cultures have been founded by individual men, never by the masses. Humanity, the masses, never do anything save that they destroy often enough what individual men have built. Everything on earth has its period of life. Our religion can become mechanical and no longer capable of awakening the inner side of a man. Its inner meaning is lost, and ritual and outer form only remain. The main thing to grasp is that any real teaching coming from the conscious circle of humanity can only exist in a school and be transmitted orally. When it passes into life, when it is written down, it becomes changed. Conscious man thinks psychologically. Mechanical man thinks logically. You cannot make a man understand. You cannot force him to understand why he should not act as he does, or compel him to understand that he should not speak as he does. There can be no violence, no collective coercion, and above all, no physical fear used, for fear does not develop the understanding. Life is a means, and not an end in itself. A man in the work can only grow through the forgiveness of others. Remember that this work is for those who really wish to work and change themselves. It is not for those who wish to change the world. Self-observation is very harsh and becomes more harsh. If it is done sincerely, it will hurt. We should not pretend we like other people, but try to work on dislike. Dislike grows very early. One of the great objects of this work is to awaken the emotional center, which is drugged with negative emotions and all the small emotions of self, of vanity, of self-conceit, etc. To see selfishness in others is to see the reflection of one's own selfishness, for the more requirements you make from others, the more selfish will others appear to you. Being identified with oneself comes first. Being upset and offended comes second. Making inner accounts comes third. Yes, we easily pretend we are wrong, but to see it, direct and unmistakable in oneself, is pain. This is real, and so useful suffering, for all real suffering purifies the emotions. Identifying is the chief obstacle to self-remembering. Any thoughts can enter the mind, just as any people can come into your house. You can think a thought, or not. A thought enters the mind and seeks to attract you. If it does, you begin to think it, that is, think from it. You begin to enlarge this thought by paying attention to it and thinking from it, until it grows in all directions and forms, as it were, a little tree of thought in you that bears fruit and seeds other similar thoughts. In the Gospels, it is pointed out that it is not what comes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out of a man. We cannot see our emotions because we are so identified with them. If we could see plainly our usual emotions, we would be horrified. If you remember that there are some 14 billion brain cells, each with 100 arms or branches or connections, then you will realize in how many ways a thing can be taken, That is, along how many different paths an impulse can travel theoretically. But owing to habit, impulses find habitual tracks, and so produce the same results. The less you realize your own deceitfulness, the more will you tend to be suspicious of others.